Then we'll begin. Okay, welcome to the Lucidus podcast. This is Shelly, and we explore everything on this podcast because I believe everything is connected to everything else. And also because I believe in the infinite, unbounded potential within each of us. So today we are doing 3 questions, and I have my dear friend David Freed. We're dear friends and new friends. So, and he's agreed to join us. David, thank you for joining.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Oh.
Anything you'd like to say before I ask the first question?
I have a question. Is this being visually recorded or audio recorded or both? Is it a video
It's
or
both.
just?
It's
Okay,
both.
good. My friends were wondering because
Yeah.
that's what.
So on some of the platforms, yeah. So on some platforms, it only supports audio, so it will only be audio. And then on some platforms, it supports audio and video. And so they'll be both on those platforms. Yeah. So kind of depending on where your friends watch it.
Yeah.
But and
It's
I'll
just
send you
it's
those
just
links.
podcasts used to be something you listen to, and now they're really more often a video. So, anyways, I'm fine with either. I just was curious. So,
Yeah.
yeah, good.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. Are you ready for your first question? I put my glasses on to look official, not because it's a big question.
Okay.
Okay. Is there something in your is there something in your life that you wish you had learned sooner? Is there something in your life you wish you had learned sooner?
Wow, that's a big question.
And you could replace
Yeah.
the other question.
I,
I was gonna, and you are welcome to replace sooner.
yeah. Um, Part of my hesitation is, one, it's a very philosophical question, spiritual question, um, but it also is this idea of, if I think there was actually a novel about this where somebody looked back on their life and wished they had learned, you know, they wish they knew all the things that had happened ahead of time, or something, like they wouldn't go back and make the mistakes that they made, but then they go back and they make all the same mistakes again because they can't change their feelings about the world. They'll go, okay, I know that this person's going to break my heart, but or I know this job's going to be turn out bad. So I would say, oh God, um, really and truly, what comes to mind is about my father. Uh, and I don't know if it's a question of having learned something sooner, but my father passed away when I was about 17, and he and I were, as not unusual, kind of at loggerheads with each other. I was a rebellious teenager, and then wasn't quite as quick as that, but he kind of up and died. And I think just I've come to a place of real just forgiveness, but a lot of having to forgive myself for my own anger and my own, I mean, it's like I was just a dumb kid, right? More or less. And so I think just this idea of I guess compassion and forgiveness really, um, and it's uh, I just wish we had, I could have, he could have yelled at me, I could have yelled at him, and then we could have said, hey, let's go out and, you know, have a cup of coffee or something like that. I don't know if that, I know that's what came to mind, you know. And it talks about, I mean, it covers a bigger, much bigger, broader issues, I think, in terms of how we live our lives. Um, and also just the fact of, you know, yeah, I think I'll go with that right now. So, yeah, yeah.
The question that comes for me is, do you feel like that experience has brought a more awareness to the immediacy of death throughout the rest of your life?
Um,
Like death is always there.
yeah, I'd have to say no. My so I my dad passed away, and then my older brother, who was 10 years older, passed away, and then my mom, more recently, she was 86. I've sort of inherited her longevity genes, I think. Has also passed away, and I can't say that it's really made me aware of my own death. I think it's made me aware of the importance of family. Um, and, I mean, there's this idea in a lot of cultures, but certainly in ancient Chinese culture, where they talk, it basically talk a lot about the ancestors. And I think you and I both have been studying the I Ching, the Chinese Book of Changes, and a lot of the sort of the cultural framework for that was when people were asking questions of the I Ching, they were really asking their ancestors, you know. Um, and so my sense is this idea of, we are, maybe it's not so much a awareness of my death, but perhaps more of an awareness of, like, I'm part of this much, 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 much longer chain of, you know, if I have to go back way far, it's, to Stardust or whatever, amoebas and Stardust. Um, but yeah, I think that's, death isn't really kind of what's, maybe I should have it on my mind more. I don't know, but I don't. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, it was interesting because your question had me reflect on my question a little differently, and that was, I feel like in the past I have I have had the loss of people in my life and felt the immediacy of death. But as I've gotten older and my spiritual perspectives and my personal perspectives have changed, death feels just more of a transition than a loss. So maybe
Yeah.
that's the question I would ask you. Um, as you've lost people in your life, has your experience of death changed?
Um, yeah, I can't, I would have to say, really, maybe I don't quite know how to answer that, I guess. I'm trying to come up with an answer, but I mean, I'm sure it has
Yeah.
changed me. Just like having family would, having kids would change you, or having great loss in your life would change you, or whatever. Um, but I'll have to kind of maybe think about that. I don't know. I may have to get back to you on that one. um, I would say,
All right, good enough.
yeah, I would say maybe more. It's like the sense of, and it's something I guess I struggle with, as maybe we all do, is living our lives with more sense of purpose and more uh, compassion for ourselves and uh, for the world around us too. Um, I One of the things I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm wandering off in too many directions here, but my folks were old lefties. I don't know if they were in the Communist Party or something, but one of the things I think they sort of instilled in me is this sense of what we might call a sense of responsibility, or caretaker. That we're all basically caretakers for our society and for uh, our planet and so forth. Um, and they were. My dad took me to my first anti-war rally when I was, I don't know, 12 years old, and it was me and him and 50 Quakers, old Quakers, and nobody even knew we were at war in Vietnam. And my brother was a freedom rider in the South. So I think I have, there's this sense of purpose that I have. And at times it also kind of drives me nuts because I just look around the world. I mean, I reflect on this all the time. It seems the world is just kind of tilted on its side, and um, it's kind of a little bit nutsy bobo, um, and not in a good way. Um, so I think maybe that just that there's a sense of purpose, I guess, and a sense of that it, actually maybe I'd like it to know that it means something, you know, in our lives. Um, which is why I started getting involved with local politics on a local level, and support my school board and try to keep my little homeowners association from going too far afield. Um, so I don't know. Maybe I think I'm wandering a bit off here, but anyways, yeah,
Well, I would say it's interesting. I feel like you've answered the question in a few different ways.
yeah,
You know, you talked a little bit first about about your father, but then you also talked about learning,
mm,
about having compassion for others, and then also it sounds like you've learned through time how to be engaged with your community in a meaningful way that has purpose for you. So,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
there's like a
my folks,
three-tiered answer. I like it.
yeah. I'll just add, my folks also were not, particularly where they were not religious at all. I wouldn't say they were atheists, but they probably maybe more agnostic. Um, and then later in life, I've become a practicing Buddhist more or less, and this idea of God or higher power, uh, still kind of a mystery to me, but I don't outright reject it. Um, and yet what I have a sense of is that even though my parents, if they were alive, might go, "Oi, what is he doing? Going off and going to a meditation center, or whatever." As I think they have they would understand on some level that it's, I'm still, I'm doing the right thing more or less. It's an outreach of how I was raised, I guess you might say. Um, yeah. Um, so
Um, I
yeah.
like your answers.
Okay.
So, is there anything else you want to say about that before we move to the second question?
Oh God, we're only on to the second question. Yeah, yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah.
We're fine. We're fine. We got nowhere to
Mm,
go. Nothing to do. Okay, here we are to the second question.
okay.
Is there something that you are learning? Okay, is there something you are learning now in life?
Oh,
Something you're currently learning?
um, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of levels of that. I mean, I don't know if it's in the microcosm or something, but I have interest in the I Ching, ancient Chinese philosophy. So I feel like I'm always learning something new in that regard. Um, I also have a couple of artistic, creative uh, interests, and so I'm learning. That's maybe more learning a craft, I guess you'd say. I took a class last weekend in something called cyanotype, which is an early form of photography from like the 1800s, but it's now been embraced by the larger art community. And it basically is painting paper or fabric with a couple of chemicals and then exposing it to light. And you've probably seen them. Often people will put like flowers or leaves, and they create these beautiful, deep, like indigo blue images where and where the leaves or flowers are, they're kind of more white or yeah. So I took that class.
Mm.
The week before that, I took an encaustic class. So I'm learning. It's kind of more of learning these crafts and tools, and then I just think again, it's a lot of times. I think you and I had talked about, and maybe we do this similarly, where we consult the I Ching oracle or any other oracle on kind of like a daily basis and just say, what should I pay attention to today? Um, I did that one this morning and again this afternoon. um, and so I feel like it's like, those offer again opportunities for learning. Um, and I keep coming back to often with that and also with my Buddhist practices of like, okay, we can never learn to be, compassionate enough and take the high road more or less. And I think those are lessons that we learn continuously. Um, um, yeah, I think that's what I think about learning. I think I do
Mm.
need to learn to
Um,
clean my house a bit better on a practical level. So, anyways, yeah,
yeah, I really I like what you say about this is the second time you brought up compassion, but also like you said it differently this time, where you said you can never have too much compassion. I can't remember quite how you said it, or have deep enough compassion. Um,
yeah,
and I find I find that is so helpful for me in my life, like to dig deeper and deeper into compassion for myself and for others.
yeah, yeah. And I think again, it's a very, very well, I think it's a strong part of a lot of different religious traditions. I mean, I can't speak for Catholicism or really even for Judaism, but I know, there are passages in the Bible where, basically about not judging others and, you know, reaching out to others and so forth. And Buddhism, especially, well, Tibetan Buddhism, it's like that's the whole ball of wax right there. Um, there's a book I have. I don't know if I. It's a picture book, and it's these incredible pictures of Tibetans. They're done in black and white, and often they have, backdrop of the um, Himalayas behind them, and different ages, old people, the young people, and they then talk about each of their stories, and many of them, not necessarily the younger ones, but anybody that's an adult, uh, they many of them were imprisoned by the communist Chinese, tortured, forced to do forced labor. Many of them after that, went over the mountains into India, where the Dalai Lama lives, and this continually this um, repeating theme is, and often for them it's like a very personal thing, is how that they needed their demon was to overcome to feel compassion for those people that had hurt them so badly, you know um, and I oftentimes I think in my life of like, well, God, if I can't forgive my neighbors for being a jerk, or for why I think they're being a jerk, and so I take it as a real sort of one challenge, and also just great inspiration. There's a Rinpoche, a Tibetan teacher who lives about 3 miles from here, or his center is about 3 miles from here. He's in his 50s. He's got kids. His wife is Chinese, and one of the stories, or he goes back to Tibet every, like, once or twice or three times a year, um, because in traditional Tibetan culture, the Buddhist religion or organization was also the government of Tibet. you know, um, so he is basically sort of like a governor of a region of Tibet, even though he lives in the United States, and he goes back regularly. It's Eastern Tibet, very poor part of the country, and he's their temple that was there burned down. So of course he has lots of Western students. He has a lot of people that are benefactors, or giving him a lot of money, and he's rebuilding this temple that's also going to be a place for nuns, and also like an orphanage, and also these they're sort of more like act as almost community centers, where people could come, and they're building it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like totally passive solar, and they're building because it's so high elevation, it's so cold. Their building season is like maybe 3 or 4 months or something like that. So, but what people have told me about is when he goes back, he has to deal with the communist Chinese, right? And he has to get pretty much permission to do everything. And so he has this relationship, and I would imagine that if he, was angry, frustrated, you know, by how the communist Chinese have, treated the Tibetans, that maybe he would not have such a good working relationship. But they said he has quite a good relationship with them, as well as it can be in that situation. So I always take that to be a I take it as an inspiration, like if he can do that, why can't I get along with, or maybe I should try to get along with, people who I have political differences with, which is, a great, huge thing in America right now. So, um, now I can't remember what the question was, but
You were saying what you were learning, and
oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think ultimately
um,
that's yeah, yeah. Um, I think also setting boundaries. It's a mixed bag, because sometimes you just have to say no, um, and I think I don't know, maybe I've gotten, anyways, I think it's basically uh, it's as Rinpoche often talks about. People often talk about letting go of everything, right? And you know, um, there's a one of the teachings in his school of Tibetan Buddhism is about it's like don't meditate, don't do anything, don't meditate. It's kind of like you're kind of going beyond. You're going beyond meditation. And I asked him one time, and I said, well, then why are we meditating? If we're supposed to go beyond everything. And he said, there's the mundane level, the day to day level, and then, this sort of more higher spiritual level. So, on one level, we're learning to let go in the big picture, letting go. And the other one is you have to get up, walk out your door, go to the grocery store, you know, have somebody, honk their horns at you or cut you off, and, whatever it happens to be. And that's kind of where the rubber hits the road. Not so much when we, sit on our pillows, more or less, but when we go out into the world and, um, we have to interact with other human beings. There's a thing in a term in I don't know if it's in more general spiritual practices, but certainly in more modern American Buddhism, that they call spiritual bypassing. Have you ever heard that before? That expression, or Shelley?
I've heard it, but I'd love to hear more.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your
Well, as I
explanation.
understand it, it's like this idea that basically you practice your meditation, and yet it could be a thing where you're basically using that as a way of keeping the world at bay and not dealing with your issues, more or less. I might say. Um, it's and so it's become an important thing in American Buddhism, or probably a lot of different Buddhist schools, but certainly in the West, we're like, okay, it's great to go on a 3 month retreat or a year long retreat or, whatever, but, you know, you still have to, you know, go over and, take your parents out for dinner or whatever your particular, you know, uh, whatever pushes your buttons, you still have to, kind of do that. So, yeah, so I think that's a lot of opportunity to live, live all those things. And as I'm talking to you, I have to say, I live in this very
I
beautiful place, uh, Whidbey Island. I'm looking out at these gorgeous trees. It's 70 degrees out. I live in a quiet, wonderful neighborhood. I have deer come through my yard, blah, 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 blah. And so, yeah, there's this sense of like I'm kind of in a little bit of somewhat paradise compared to living in, a ghetto of LA or Mexico City or something. And yet, I still have stuff. So, yeah. Yeah.
life has a way of finding us, doesn't it?
Exactly. 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 Yeah. There's yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
quick. I have it. I want to share. I
Hmm?
was going to say I wanted to share a quick thought of mine on the spiritual bypass and just see if you have any thoughts about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a situation right now where I'm sort of at odds with um, a few family members, and so what I've chosen to do is when I meditate, I just send love and compassion and goodwill, and it's genuine. I mean, it's honest. It really. I don't send it if I don't have it, but
Yeah.
I get to a place where I genuinely have compassion and goodwill and love for them, but I don't engage with them. I say, well, that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, am I spiritually bypassing?
Well, I can't really answer that. I mean, it doesn't sound like you are. Um, and again, that's a very broad term that could easily, I think, get misconstrued. But I mean, as I said, my family was old lefties. My brother was an old lefty, and I think all of them, if they lived long enough, even my brother, he passed away at 40, or yeah, he was 40, or when he, or no, I was 40, he was 50, I think. Anyways, he had mellowed too, and he had become more engaged in his community. He lived in Chicago, and he was, volunteered at a homeless shelter on the south side of Chicago. Um, but again, I have a lot of friends who have, especially in the political
Hey, David,
uh, uh,
hold on just one second.
situation that we,
Can you,
yeah,
can you hear me? Hold on
yeah,
just one second because you're breaking up. So
I
let's
can.
just
You were
wait a
breaking up. Your
second and
picture breaking up.
I'll be
Yeah,
able to
can you
tell
hear me?
when your
Okay.
image.
Did it break up?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
hold
you're
on just
frozen.
let's hold on just for a few more seconds and see if um, yeah, hold on. Um, let's hold let's hold on. Okay, can you see, is everything okay on your end?
Are we back?
No, it doesn't seem like it. Let's see.
Yeah, there's nothing really I can do on my end. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's the recording kind of stopped.
Oh,
Um, yeah, it's sort of, hold on just one second. Let's hold on. The recording seems to have,
you're kind of permanently
I don't know what
frozen
it's
now.
doing. Am I? Let's just wait a second. The recording stopped. Let's see if it can restart. Hmm. Huh. Can you hear me at all? Okay, it looks like it looks like things are going again. Can you hear me?
I can, and you're not frozen anymore.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, I think we're good. Okay. So, do you remember what you were saying?
yeah, I don't know how far to go back. Basically, I know a lot of, or I have friends who are at odds with their family, often over political stuff, um, which is also weird because I mean, I think I remember growing up and people could have differences of opinion in their family and it wasn't so divisive. But I have a friend who says, she says, I won't talk to my brother on the phone. I'll talk to him if we want to just talk about family stuff. But if he starts to just, kind of go off the rails um, and so, but I wouldn't say she's spiritually bypassing. I think, again, it comes back to we do have to sometimes set limits and boundaries. I think it's more a sense of, uh, as Harmon says, of intent. Um, if you're intending to push your family away versus saying, no, I don't want to go there with you, more or less. So, yeah, but I think only you could really kind of say what's true and what's not true with that. The other thing, too, is, I mean, I suppose the other thing is you could say, well, I'm going to just, be friendly, chatty, get together with them and have it be kind of false and, not very real. you know, I imagine. I mean, I'm not saying you would do that, but so yeah, yeah. I think it comes down really to intention, and also, we all have limits. We all, I mean, I think one of the my, I guess my perception about Americans and spirituality is that we take everything. It has to be the best, and we have to be the best, and and I think you know, it's kind of okay to be imperfectly perfect. So yeah,
Yeah. I hope so.
I hope so. God, do I hope so?
Uh,
No,
yeah, I'm in trouble. Okay. Any
yeah.
final words on the any final words on the second question before we move on to the final one?
Let's go move on to the
Feels
final
good?
one.
Okay, here we go. All right. When I pass onward, let's see. What would I like my final thought to be? When I pass onward, what would I like my final thought to be?
So, are you asking my advice about what your final thought should be? I think you're asking me what my
Well,
final.
you, what would you like yours?
I can give you all kinds of advice on that. Um, Man, these are like interesting questions, challenging. Um, I do not. Again, it's a bit of a mystery. I would. I mean, again, everybody's like, well, I don't want to be afraid when I die, and it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll be terrified when um, death is a pretty scary thing, as much as we may try to think otherwise. Um, I think only that maybe I would like to think uh, that it's maybe not what I want to think at the end, but maybe what I would like to have achieved is that I could maybe look back and knew I did, I lived my life as purposely, uh, with purpose, with creativity, with compassion, to the full extent that I can. And that gets back to that sense of maybe, awareness of our immortality, not our immortality. Um, um, because again, we may have. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what if I died in my sleep? I don't know if I would have. Would I even remember what my thoughts were, or know what my thoughts were, um, or a sudden car crash or whatever? But I think it's more a sense of, I guess, maybe feeling content that I had done the best I could do. Maybe I think. Um,
Yeah, I like
um,
that.
yeah, and
Okay,
yeah,
so
and also that I could forgive myself all my foibles and the things I didn't do. uh, um, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
forgiveness is a big one for self and
Forgiveness is a
other.
really big one. Yeah,
Okay, so there is one. Yeah, it is. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm just like, I think you can't get anywhere without it. Forgiving myself, forgiving others, just yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's necessary. Okay, so one last question, but this one's
Hmm.
a little bit different. This one is if you were in my spot and you were going to ask a question, someone a question, a general question about life, what question would you ask?
Man, you should have got me a cheat sheet ahead of time or something with this. Um,
You're doing
um,
great. You don't need one.
yeah, I know. Um, I'm sort of reminded of that classic interview question. Well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's like, um, let me think about that for a
Oh,
sec. Maybe I might say to you, well, how are things going in your life right now? How do you feel about your life? How's it unfolding for you? What are the challenges? What are the beauties? You know, what's easy? Where do you get stuck? Just in the in this in this moment that we're both that you're living in right now. That might be that's what comes to mind. You know,
that's a
um,
that's a great question, and I'd like to ask you, how's it
yeah.
going?
How's it going?
How are your challenges? So I want, yeah, I'd like you to. Do you want to take a stab at your own question?
Yeah, I asked the question so
Tell
I
me
could
the
think of
beauty and the challenge.
yeah. It's actually I
Yes.
feel it's going pretty good. Um, as I said, I retired the month be, before COVID hit, which is what now 3 or 4 years ago. I have these well besides the I Ching, which I've been very pleased with where that's been going. Um, and I thought, when I retired, I'd go, oh, I'll delve really deeply into my creativity, my photography, and my printmaking, and these new things. And I have to some extent. It's not like they're ever very far away. Um, so I feel good about that. I think where I would just like to spend more time with that. Um, Probably less time on the internet, um, doing sort of fairly mundane, worthless things on the internet. Um, and yeah, I think basically just kind of being more with my creativity, um, um, connecting with my neighbors and my friends. That's another thing that happened with COVID is I feel like my social circle just sort of disintegrated. Um, and I think that happened for a lot of people, and some people have pulled that back together more or less. But in my sense, and I'm not really even talking about it's more the psychological, spiritual experience of it. not so much the political or what divisiveness of it. I think it's affected people in very, very profound ways. Um, and and I think even though we may even if we get past whatever getting past it may mean, I think it's still with us, not as a disease, but as a dis-ease, uh, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think really my goals right now, I think what I really just
Mhm.
want to do is just be more with my photography, more with my creativity, finally get around to actually cleaning my house instead of saying I'm going to clean my house. um, and like I said, I live in this wonderful place. I mean, last weekend, when I was driving up to take my art class, each day I saw a coyote cross the road, and I've got stellar blue jays that come on my porch here, and I feed them peanuts. Um, so I feel blessed in a lot of ways. There's beautiful beaches to walk here. Summertime here is just incredible. Uh, Most of the time, it's not too hot, not too cold. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where. And also, I just want to continue to deepen my meditation practice. Um, so, and I feel very blessed that even though I don't spend a lot of time with his group, but you know, the Rinpoche, Daja Rinpoche is a quite a inspiration. It's kind of fun to see him out in the community sometimes. It's like I'm having breakfast at my local deli, and he shows up to buy some sandwich or something like that. It's like, how are you, Rinpoche? Fine. I don't know. Maybe it's like maybe seeing your
That's
priest in a
nice.
Irish village or something. I don't know. Maybe. Oh, yeah. So
Well,
did
thank you. Thank you
yeah,
so much for coming on.
yeah. Thank you too.
I wanted
Uh,
to
yeah.
offer. Oh, go ahead.
No, no. You go ahead.
I was just going to say the tidbits that I get to take away from sharing this with you is just I would really like to. I don't think I lack in compassion, but you've just prompted me to really begin to discover deeper compassion. And also, you carry a lot of purposefulness
Mhm.
and just really considering, am I being purposeful in the areas of my life that where I want to cultivate. So those are two sort of overarching themes that I picked up. Oh, and then cleaning your house.
And clean the house. I want to
But
say like maybe two
yeah,
years
but
ago. Yeah, about 2 years ago, I think I taken. I don't know. Have you taken both of Harmon's courses? That his
this is the
oh,
first.
huh? This is the first.
This
So
is the
you did.
first.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
okay. So yeah. He's taught the imagery class, hexagrams, trigrams, and I've taken that 2 or 3 times, and then also the text class I've taken 2 or 3 times. Um, and I remember one time, I asked the question. It was about cleaning my house, and Hardman, in his usually way, I mean, I can't remember what the answer was, but he said, "Well, of course it's difficult. Nobody likes cleaning their house." so, anyways, I just part of me, it's also this. I feel like if I cleaned up my house, it would add to my, So sometimes I'm kind of going, okay, where did I put that tool or that, I have something I want to, use in my art, or where's that piece of paper at, or blah blah blah. And it's like I spend so much time, digging. So yada 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 yada. Oh, now I've got two blue jays, stellar jays that just came, wanting to be fed. So
Aw.
yeah, or they're waiting for their peanuts here.
Wow.
Well, thank you very much. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The only other thing is,
Well, thank you. This has been
yeah, yeah. I just want to. I really appreciate the input that you've been giving in our I Ching course that we're taking. Um, it's kind of always seems like it kind of brings it down to a bit of sanity, I guess you'd say. Um, yeah, I won't say any more in public.
Well,
Yeah,
well, all I'll say to that is it's been I was one of the things I was thinking as you were talking about how you live on this beautiful island sort of tucked away from a lot of the drama and chaos of society, and yet life still finds you. Life
yeah,
still finds you. And which I have found interesting in this online course, in the forum where we all share, it's caused a little bit of friction between people, and life finds you.
yeah,
If there's something that you need to deal with, life is going to find you.
yeah, yeah. Are we still being recorded for the chat, or is it just you and I chatting right now?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, we're still being recorded. So I'll say goodbye and then you can share something more.
okay, good. Yeah.
So any final words? This is just a chance.
Oh
Any
no, just
final
thank.
words that you'd like to
No,
share?
just thank you. I mean, it's been quite a pleasant surprise, and I had no idea,
Oh, good.
um, where it was going to go or what you were going to ask. So I feel, yeah, it's been great. Yeah, I'm glad I got to sit out on my
Yeah.
porch and do it too.
So,
So,
well, lovely.
uh, anyways,
Well, and I appreciate you sharing your life wisdom and
good.
your life stories. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the recording now.
Okay.